Hello everybody, welcome back to Jigga. You can see the rest of the pride is now arriving and they are just pitching up. Now they've come from the south, which we hoped, or we didn't know, we wondered if they would, and here they are. What they've been doing in the south there. She's greeting each member in turn. There are another 3 lionesses coming up from behind us. And Junior is very wary of what's going on. Now, where are they going from here? This could be quite interesting. They may, of course, just lie down and do nothing, but maybe they're going to lead us to their carcass or what remains thereof. I'm going to go past this one just on our left here. She's very close. If she decides she'd like to sit on your lap, just tell her to get off. Okay, cool. Here we go. Here we go. Lioness is pretty close by there. Totally unfazed by the vehicles. Right, now we're going into the drainage line that's just near treehouse waterholes. And drainage lines are often where they kill big animals, lions, because animals tend to slip as they run down into them, especially in the case of giraffe. Watch out there. It's very stealthy, you can see we are. Not sure what the best route through here is going to be. Stand back a bit and go across this drainage line somehow. Nose up. Let's try and find it. Anna Marie, nice question. Do all felines have the same black and white vision that lions do? To a large extent, yes. Depending on when they're active. So most cats are nocturnal by nature, and so they will have black and white vision. I imagine that a cheetah, which tends to be a lot more diurnal, probably has a bit more color vision than these ones do. There's a male just through there, Bjorn, but I don't think we can get through here. I'm just going to go a little bit further back and round. See if we can't get through. I can see them through there. But this Land Rover is not very bendy. It's more of a blunt instrument than any form of instrument of subtlety. Especially when operated by me. Try and get round there. We might be able to get through here. Now we are definitely approaching the water hole. So I suspect the carcass is somewhere around here. Hi Kathy in Nevada. You want to know, do these lions ever seriously injure their pride mates in feeding fights? Not that I've seen. I'm sure it does happen though. It's normally, they snap at each other and they hit, but they don't kind of follow through on attacks. There's so yeah, there is a buffalo there at the water hole. Just have a quick look at him. He's having a drink. Can you see him there, Bjorn? He's having a drink, and I suspect he's lost a friend. I can see the lions just through in front of us. Just see if you can get a shot of him there. It's always nice to have a look and just see what you have to be looking out for if you happen to be on foot. You can just see a tawny shape moving through the bush there. Carry on there. And there's one of them's gone to ground. Sleep. Certainly dozing. Out there. Djuma is now forming something, an athletic feat with the aerial. I wish you could see him. Hi Dave in Toronto, lovely question about vultures. Dave, you want to know if there is a kill in the area, how long will it take for the vultures to sort of come around? There aren't any at the moment. Remember, if this kill was made last night, and I mean I'm surmising, I can't see any form of a carcass just yet. This kill was made last night. What they will do, well, the vultures, here comes Junior in front of us. I'm just going to wait and see if they don't settle down before I bash in there. Junior's just in front of us. What they will do, Dave, is vultures, is that when it gets warm, so we're probably sitting at around 8:30 at this time of the day, and 8:15, and it's not warm enough yet for the vultures to fly. I mean, they can flap from tree to tree, but they can't soar in the current air conditions. So they'll wait till about 9 o'clock for the thermals to start coming up. Look at this beautiful young lion. Hello, old boy. Good luck. Dave, I will get back to your question. He's a stunning young fellow. Junior's heading towards the water hole. I wonder if he won't go and drink. He might. I think let's follow him. So Dave, vultures need the thermals. In summary, the thermals in winter normally will start rising off the ground at about 9 o'clock in the morning. And so they'll then go up. And if there's a kill in this area, it's a decent sized kill, it's likely they'll see it and they'll come down. And they'll follow each other. So if the kill has been made last night, the vultures, and there is something left, the vultures won't be aware of it yet. They don't use smell in this part of the world very much. It's almost entirely by sight. The other major scavenger, one of the major scavengers, is a marabou stork. Ugliest bird I've ever seen. And they tend to use smell. So they could, if there were some around here and there was a rotting carcass. They might be here sooner than the vultures were in these sorts of conditions, where the air is cool and it's difficult for the vultures to fly. Sorry, we've got to go make Viam do his contortion thing there. Watch your heads. Okay. Now there was a buffalo at the water hole. There's no ways Junior will try and take on a buffalo on his own. And here the Franklin's starting to call. We're very displeased to see him. Hello, Lisa and Susie. You did indeed hear the pearl-spotted owl calling. The owl that has rejected me outright so many times since my arrival here. All right, Liam? Yep. That's a quintessential postcard shot, that. That's a Birchall starling shouting at him. You can see here that a lion is not fussy about the kind of water it drinks. Something like an elephant will almost always reject water like this if there is cleaner water around. But lions, no trouble with it. You and I would not drink this water. It is basically a collection of some water, an enormous amount of buffalo dung, and a huge amount of mud. You can hear the rattling testiculars now calling. That's because of him. Can you hear his drinking? Wonderful sound. Now, lions and leopards are almost water independent. They don't have to drink very often. They get a lot of moisture from what they kill. They do tend to drink after they've killed. I think it probably helps them with their digestion. But when they do drink, they tend to drink an enormous amount. It's quite sweet how domestic these animals can look when they're doing things like drinking water. All right, well, as old Junior takes an enormous water break here, I think we're going to go across and see what Brent has managed to find. I know that he's, just look what he's looking at. Not much. So we're gonna go across to Brent now and see what he's doing, and I'll stay with the pride for a bit longer, and we'll see you a bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. Since we have been unable to follow a shadow, we've now found a bird we don't see that often sitting up there, and I wonder from that brief visual if any of you can tell me which bird it is. Sitting out in the open, looking for possible insects to catch. We'll try and move now so you can get a front visual. See if you can tell me which bird this is, and you can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Fortunately, not being a very accommodating bird by turning, so you can see his face. I'm going to try and move a little bit, see if we can get a better view. Well, at least it's being accommodating and not flying away while we move around. So I hear you've been having a fantastic time with James and Junior while with the Nkuhuma Pride. Looked like it was going to fly for a second, but we got a nice view of it here. Don't fly. So, quite a big bird. Come on, turn your head again. Oh, looks like we have an answer already. Well done, Raisa. That is correct. It is a purple roller. I think they've given it another name as well. At the moment, I can't remember which one it is. I'll just find my book quickly. Where's my bird book gone, Andrew? What have you done with it? See, when anything goes missing on the vehicle, it's always the cameraman's fault. It's never our fault. But well done, Raisa. While we're here, though, this is a nice spot to do a whodunit competition. So I'm going to meander around and find some dung, and you guys are going to tell me who done it. Number one. Number two. Number three. Now there's a special one I'm looking for now. I did see some around here somewhere. Aha! I found it. And number 4 and number 5. So here we have a Who Done It competition, and who is going to be able to tell me what this is? So we've got 5 different animals' dung here, and we're going to ask you guys to try figure out which animals, let's move that out, there we go, have done the dung, and also which out of these, it's a double question, which out of this dung are ruminants and which ones are not ruminants. So here is number 1, and what I will do, I will break open a piece so you guys can see inside. Let me just get the sun on it. How's that, Andrew?
Very good.
Okay. Number 2, break one of them open. Number 3. Number 4, we don't need to. And number 5. So, let's see who can figure out who done it. And while we wait for those answers to come in, we're going to chat a little bit about something you guys have been chatting about with James quite a bit, and that is the following mechanisms in animals. So you guys have chatted about the black marks on the back of a lion's ears and on the tip of their tail, and apparently there was quite a lot of discussion about why a leopard's is white. They do have the black on the back of their ears, but the white tip to their tail. And the only reason I can consider is so a leopard doesn't accidentally follow a lion. No, of course I'm joking. I'm actually not 100% sure about that. Oh, I've lost my radio. I'm not 100% sure. Quite interesting. We're going to have to maybe think a little bit longer and try to figure out what that is. But also other antelope or other animals, including antelope, do have following mechanisms as well, like waterbuck, who have that white ring around their bottom, and that is another following mechanism. And we even have a question from Djuma. Why do animals like impala have those white markings around them? Djuma, if you look a little bit more closely at an impala's backside, it's not actually only white. There's also black and a different shade of brown. And one of the theories for that is that it is actually when they run away, those different colors, because remember, a lot of the predators see in black and white, is to aid in confusion. And that's also one of the theories why zebra are black and white. When they're all running together, it's quite difficult to single out an individual. So that is the one theory about those different stripes on the back of an impala's bottom. And it is to cause confusion when a whole herd runs together and tries to sort of confuse the predators. Obviously, with all this stuff, it's a lot of theories, and it's very difficult to say that is the absolute gospel. But it is a good theory and a plausible theory that does make sense to me. And then with the waterbuck, the white ring is definitely from a following mechanism. Let's try to think other following mechanisms. Warthog, when they run through long grass or not, their tail pops up like a little aerial. So there's another following mechanism. That's not a color following mechanism. That's actually sort of a visual following mechanism. Can you think of any others, Andrew? Well, in other things like in Nyala and Kudu and Bushbuck, they have that white flash up that when they're disturbed or whatnot, and that is to signify. It is also a following mechanism, but a slightly different type of following mechanism. That's to signify there's danger in the area, and anything that's white and black in the bush stands out. So as soon as they flash that white, all the other animals of the same species around know there's a potential threat and they need to get out of there. So we have some answers.
Kiana, come in, Kiana.
So Pam in Colorado says wildebeest, kudu.
So
We have left that
Impala.
I'm going to go and check the hyena den.
Sorry about that. R2D2 was going. Oh, look at that. Incredible. I don't know if we can actually catch it. There's a little inchworm. Let me move my hand out of the light. On top of the wildebeest dung. And Pam in Colorado, you got that one right. It is wildebeest. But look at that. There's a tiny little inchworm. Let's see. Sorry, yeah, I removed you from your existence on the ground there. I don't know. Can you see it, Andrew? Not yet. I mean, he is absolutely minute. So inchworms like that actually have legs at the front and legs at the back, and they don't have. Let's see if he wants to come to me. No. So they don't have legs in the middle of their body, and very uncommon to see inchworms at this time of the year. In summer they're quite common. We see them all over the place, and you can see how he moves there. He sort of whoop, whoop. So he's got a set of legs right at his base and his front, and that gives him quite a lot of mobility. You can see I can stand up there on his back legs sort of and check where he wants to go. Don't worry, I will put him back in the grass before we leave. But sorry, I got so distracted by that inchworm. I know Pam in Colorado said this was wildebeest. That is correct. Okay. So Pam, you are almost correct. This is giraffe. This is not giraffe, sorry. That is impala, that is not elephant, and that is not duiker. So apparently there's quite a lot of variations coming in, so to simplify life, I'm going to give the answers, and then we can figure out. So wildebeest, we know, wildebeest plus inchworm. This is actually kudu. That is impala, we know. This is a very old piece of zebra dung. Now this one's quite interesting. Someone said duiker. It is not duiker. And let's remove these. So for now we've got, let's stick with these two here. So if we look at the size, it's very, very similar size to an impala. So you can have a look, but when we look on the inside, it's slightly different, and also it's a very different color. You can see how dark this one, and this is very old impala dung, but it is still much darker than that, and it's a very interesting thing. This is actually a scrub hare, the light colored one, and this is an impala. And the reason a scrub hare's dung is so light colored is that it eats its own feces. So it's recorded up to 7 times a scrub hare will defecate, and once they have finished defecating, they will then immediately eat that up to 7 times to get the maximum amount of nutrients out of what they eat. So an impala, which is a ruminant, doesn't need to do that because it's able to bring it up from its stomach and eat and eat and eat like that. A scrub hare, which is not a ruminant, has sort of developed a way to compete with the ruminant stomach, so to speak, by actually eating their own feces up to 7 times. So very interesting little thing like that. Let me release the inchworm before we take one last gander at finding a shadow. As always, I like to make a mess wherever I go. Good ride, Mr. Inchworm. Don't get eaten by a bird. Hi, Mauritia from the Lone Star State. Mauritia would like to know if we get bush pigs in this area. Mauritia, we do, but they are quite rare in this area. I have seen them in the Sabi Sands once, And one of the other reasons, even that because they are around and we don't see them, is because they are very active when we are very asleep. And it's very seldom that we are going to be driving around at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's when they are active. The habitat is good for them. It's very strange that there aren't more of them here. So I've only seen them once, and I haven't seen that many, so much feeding sign to them. And they have a very distinct feeding sign. They'll sort of mow up an area, they'll dig out all the roots, and you'll have this big area that has been visibly sort of excavated. And I haven't seen any of that feeding sign since I've been in this part of the Sabi Sands. But then strangely, not very far from here, 50 kilometers away, on the reserve where my parents live and I spend a lot of time, we see a lot of bush pig, and we see them up to groups of sort of 9 to 15, and we see them in the middle of the day, at night, all over, all sorts of time. So very interesting. Maybe it's to do with the fact we've got so many predators, or specifically lions, in this area, that the bush pig numbers aren't that high. But it is I'm actually not 100% sure, and I've asked quite a lot of people over the years, and it seems even historically there just really haven't been that many bush pig in this area. Thank you very much for that. It is something that sort of sits at the back of my mind quite often, and so why aren't the bush pig here? And there's no real answer for it. Oh guys, while we keep looking for a shadow, we're going to cross back to Commander Bond and see what he's been up to. Hopefully he's got a surprise in store for you.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Djuma. We have just arriving here at the hyena den. It doesn't look like a whole lot's going on. We left the cats, the lions, because they were fast asleep doing what lions do best. We're definitely going to go back there before the end of drive today and just see what's happening there. But for the meantime, let's just pop around here and see if we can't find some form of hyena activity. Mainly because I thought it'd be worth coming to look. Because of the kill that happened in the area yesterday, it might be quite interesting to see if they haven't brought a bone back or something like that. There doesn't seem to be much going on here. This is the termite mound. We'll just stop here for 1 minute and see if we don't get some sort of a head popping out of the hole. The hole is to the exactly in the middle of frame there, where Viam is showing you now. The hole is just round that side. And we'll just stop. Normally, you know, if we come along and the adults aren't here, they get a bit nervous and they'll disappear inside. But they might pop their heads out. Just while we're waiting, Viam, there's a beautiful starling there, just to the left, over there. We don't often get them caught in such magnificent light. Now, I wonder if anybody can tell me what starling that is. Things to look out for: yellow eye, obviously very blue color. Could be one of two. Beautiful. Very peaceful now suddenly after the mayhem and excitement of the morning. I don't think there's much in the way of hyena here. So that little starling's just picking up bits and pieces of insects and other arthropods, and perhaps the odd bit of muck that the hyenas have dropped. Maybe the odd fly larvae in the hyena's dung and that sort of thing. We'll just drive around and quickly check, and then we'll move on gorgeous. So this is inactive, I'm afraid. And oops, sorry, Viam just lost an eye on twig, which is a bit disconcerting. You're right.
Yeah.
We will go back to the lions at some stage. There are some other people in the area at the moment, so I just want to give them a bit of a turn with them. I don't think they're going to do anything other than lie down flat where they are, and we'll go and follow up on that a bit later. My plan at the moment is to now go across to one of the other water holes and just see. There was so much lion activity around. There were tracks of adult males around the place earlier, and I just don't know that there aren't some more lion around Djuma at the moment. And so it may well be worth just going to have a quick look before we go back towards the sleeping cats. Plenty of hyena tracks around here, but not much in the way of hyena. I know that there's been quite a lot of commentary from you and quite a lot of debate around the black versus white tips to the tails, and I know Brent has been discussing it on antelope species. And basically I think they're probably both as effective as each other at various different times. But one of the things I did read was that something like a cheetah, or not a cheetah, something like a leopard, has got largely, it's sort of golden yellow color, but the spots are black. And so it's quite nice for it to have a different color following mechanism. That white color there tends to juxtapose against the black and the dark color, versus a lion which has a tawny tail, and so the black tends to stand out a bit more. So we have some answers to our starling question. Georgian and Rudder, you said glossy starling. Yes, but which one? So there are 3 glossy starlings we get here. One is the Birchall's, and it definitely wasn't a Birchall's because it had a long tail. The Birchall's got a long tail and a black eye. That one had a very clearly orange or yellow eye. And in fact, I've asked you a bit of a mean question, because you can't really actually tell unless you get an exceptionally close look as to whether that's a Cape glossy starling or a greater blue-eared glossy starling. The best way to tell is when they call. And when I used to teach people in and around this area, I would say that the Cape glossy starling's got a kind of nasal call, and it says to me it sounds like it's saying blue, blue, blue. Whereas the Cape glossy starling's got a sort of twittering song, and to me sounds like it's saying Cape glossy starling, Cape glossy starling, Cape glossy starling. I've never managed to convince anybody that that's what they actually sound like, but to me that's how I differentiate. So that one was one or the other. Greater blue-eared glossy starling or Cape glossy starling. Now, what have we got here? Masses of hyena tracks all over the place. This, if those 2 males are around, this is about where they'll pop out. There are some beefaloes. Now, I'm going to stop here and we'll zoom in and let them relax a little bit. The last 4 or 5 times that I've been to Treehouse Waterhole, which is just near where those lions are, I've seen a herd of buffalo, or a herd of bachelors. And there are none around there at the moment, but for that one that we saw earlier. And I wonder if this isn't the remnants of that herd scattered by the lions hunting yesterday. Let's get a bit closer, see if we can't see who's here and who isn't, more importantly. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see any others, Viam?
Negative.
So I think it's just the 5 of them, and I can't tell if they are from the original Treehouse group or not. There's definitely no cow though, and that sub-adult is certainly not around. These are big old bulls. And that pride that we saw definitely didn't kill one of a buffalo this size. They'd still definitely be feeding on it now. So maybe the youngster, it may have been a kudu and something totally unrelated to what we saw. Lots of cud chewing going on there. I'm going to turn around quickly, Viam. I'm just quite interested. There are 2 bataleur flying. While we look at the buffalo, it might be quite a nice idea just to see if those bataleur, which tend to be the first down at a carcass, are not landing to the south where that pride just went and came back from. I'm not going to ask Viam to try and find the battalier. They're so far away. Well, you might be able to see them. Did you see them? Yeah, there we go. I underestimated the skills of the old wildebeest. So they're flying round about the area where the lions went south this morning, and I'm still confused as to why the pride was moving in and out of that area. The tracks came in and out and in and out. I had a nice question from David earlier about vultures, and if there was a kill, would they be around there? And vultures, David, it's starting to get almost warm enough for them to start to fly, and they will follow bataleur. So they'll circle up high and then they will follow bataleur, and that's one of the reasons bataleur fly so much lower than vultures, so that they can get to the kills first, eat before the bigger vultures get in, and then leave. But that bataleur is not going down. He's flying dead straight. These buffalo don't seem particularly stressed out. You definitely can tell with buffalo. Obviously, their expressions don't change much from that fairly, what should we call that? Disdainful look, I suppose, is what a buffalo bull has, especially when his jaw is moving from side to side as he chews his cud. But what does change is their demeanor. A little bit like those lions, mostly, especially like that female with the orange eyes who came across us and they just had their blood up. and you can tell when these buffalo have got their blood up and they've been chased. We're going to head across briefly to Brent. He's found some canids. I don't think the wild dog kind of canid, but another kind which is actually even more unusual in this area. So we'll cross over to Brent and see you in a little while. Battery is just flying over us now. See you now.
Welcome back, everyone. Not quite the predator I was looking for, but a predator nonetheless, and a beautiful little side-striped jackal. You can see that very distinct white tip to the tail. So we found, I can't see if it's a male or female, but a nice relaxed jackal. Oh, sit down. Have a scratch. So definitely one of my favorite smaller carnivores. Side-striped jackal in particular are so interesting and adaptable, and quite an interesting fact with jackal species. We don't see many black-backed jackal up in this area. I haven't seen one since I've been here. I've seen quite a few side-striped, and they are able to fill a niche that a black-backed jackal isn't able to. So black-backed jackal have a really, really interesting distribution. So they occur from the Cape all the way to the Zambezi River. And then there's this huge gap. They do not occur again through the whole of Zambia, northern Mozambique, and most of southern Tanzania till you get to another big river called the Rufiji River. And then they again occur in northern Tanzania. So very, very interesting. And the reason the side stripe's able to fulfill this niche is because they are able to change their diet dramatically depending on the area they're in. So of course, like most little carnivores, they will happily eat quite a few different meat species, and they'll hunt little rodents and birds and eat birds' eggs. These guys in particular are very good at finding ground nesting birds' eggs, so like lapwings and thick knees. But probably one of the more interesting things is that they are able to eat a lot of vegetable matter, so fruits, roots, and insects. I've seen side-striped jackal feeding quite a lot of termites, specifically during the rainy season. Flying ants, so the alates, the future kings and queens of new termite mounds, are very high in protein, and a lot of animals eat them, including lions and leopards. I've seen eat them, but these guys will actually deal with the soldier termites and actually eat harvested termites on the ground. So an incredibly adaptive species. Hi, Lisa Osborne. Nice to have you on the back of the vehicle, Lisa. Lisa would like to know, do they have fleas? Lisa, most definitely. Fleas, ticks, and probably some other parasites that we wouldn't really want to get too involved with. That's why when you do game capture and stuff, you should actually wear gloves when handling any carnivore. And there we go, another very distinct following mechanism that we have noticed and been talking about quite a bit today. So that white tip to the tail will definitely be a following mechanism for jackal pups. And jackal pups will spend about a year with the adults before being pushed out. I just have to move again. Hi Ramey, always great to have you on the vehicle, Ramey. Ramey would like to know, do they usually have a mate? They do, Ramey, but they don't always forage together. So it is possible that the mate would be foraging somewhere else, and only if they found a really large food source would they call in the mate to come feed. So it looks like this jackal has decided it's warm enough now that it's and hi, Debbie. Debbie would like to know whether jackals and foxes are related. They are, as in that dogs and jackals and all are related. They're part of the Canis family, or the dog family. So actually one of the most interesting sightings I saw this year, unfortunately it happened off air, but was of quarantine male leopard killing a side-striped jackal that was being chased by 2 hyenas, and they actually chased the hyena. The hyena chased the jackal to where quarantine was lying on the grass, and he jumped up and he grabbed the jackal, and then got chased up the tree by hyenas. And unfortunately, the way he grabbed the jackal actually didn't kill it; it broke its back. So the jackal was actually quite alive for a long time, and the hyenas sort of circled it but didn't want to get snapped and just sort of waited for the jackal to die before one of the hyenas ate the jackal. So while we're sitting with a nice little canid, so wild dogs, even though they are related to dogs and jackals, are quite separate. They diverged quite a long time ago from the other Canis species. That's why they have the different Latin name. But who can tell me how many canids we have in South Africa? How many dog or jackal species or foxes do we have in Africa? Oh, in South Africa, sorry. Let's keep it a little bit easier for now. How many of sort of the Canis species or dog and jackal species do we have in South Africa? And you can send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Hi, Remay. Thanks again for another question. Remay would like to know whether jackals den in abandoned holes. They do. Generally, an abandoned aardvark hole, just like warthogs, wild dogs, hyenas, honey badgers sometimes, and other things. So the aardvark provides very good homes for a lot of other animals, including porcupines. There's another one I forgot. Hi Shanae, welcome on this sunrise safari. Nice to hear from you again, Shanae. Shanae said she noticed years ago that there were more black-backed jackals seen in the northern Sabi Sands, but now we only seem to see side-striped. Is it possible that they are taking over from the black-backed jackal and pushing them out of the area? Well, Shanae, definitely not. I'm not sure why the black-backed jackal population in this area has gone down. But they are smaller and less aggressive than the black-backed jackal species, and the black-backed jackal has actually been known to push side-striped jackal out. Therefore, you often find side-striped jackal quite a lot further away, so from the main rivers and that, and in the woodlands where they don't get the pressure from the black-backed jackal. So I've got quite an interesting little thing. There's a study that was done on side-striped jackals in Zimbabwe. And basically, there was a guy following them who was looking very much at their what percentage of food that they ate, and what made up the majority of their food. And actually, with side-striped jackal in this area, vegetable matter made up 72% of what they ate. And breaking that down, out of that 72%, wild fruits made 48%, raiding peanuts from local farms, and maize, beans, sunflower seeds, pumpkin and avocado, all made up part of its this side-striped jackal that was studied meal. And then the mammalian section was actually it was under 30%, live animal, and 31% of that was made up of mammals, 31% was insects, 35% was mammals. Carrion, only 11%, whereas black-backed jackal will feed a lot of carrion. So I said that the side-striped jackal's diet is far more diverse. Birds 11% and reptiles 1%. So that was in an area close to human habitation. And the same thing again outside of human habitation. Wild fruits made up the majority of it, but it was figs, mabulapums, Upaca curcania, which obviously are salamon species, poison apples, jackalberries or African ebonies, raisinberry or grivia species, and then 17% undetermined species. So when they do eat mammal prey, the majority is very small. So mice and rats and gerbils and scrub hares. But scrub hare seems to be quite unusual, and it's more normally the babies of the scrub hares that are eaten. So very interesting. And out of the insects eaten, there was grasshoppers, cricket, beetles, and larvae of both, but termites, Macromides felicia, so the ones that build some of these huge mounds, were eaten quite frequently as well. Hi, Terry from Massachusetts. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari, Terry. Terry would like to know, do jackals have pups once a year? And that they do. So I'm just going to try to find this other picture for you here. There we go. So very interesting. I was talking about jackal distribution. And there we have Africa. And there you see the side-striped jackal. It stays out of the arid areas, which is a very big part of the black-backed jackal, where there's a lot of carrion. So there would probably not be enough food for a side-striped jackal in the deserts and semi-deserts in this area. And it stays out of the Congo Basin rainforests. But through the sort of savanna and grassland zone, it occurs all the way through into the Sahel regions in West Africa. But if we go across now to the black-backed jackal, remember I said there's that two very distinct and disjointed populations of black-backed jackal. So you've got the whole south and western area, and then there's this huge gap, the whole of Zambia, and most of northern Mozambique and northern Zimbabwe, and then only starts again right up in northern Tanzania. So very interesting. You probably find at one time the jackal species occurred through, the black-backed jackal occurred through the whole area, but with the climate changing, and the majority of this bush in this area that is there is Miombo woodland. And Miombo woodland is very, very beautiful, but it is got very, very, very poor grass species, so your animal densities are quite low. So there, when a side-striped jackal is able to feed on things like termites and fruit, whereas the black-backed jackal is more strictly confined to meat and carrion. So very interesting. So over the last probably 100,000 years, actually could even be a bit less than that, the last ice age and stuff, where the climate changed in that central area of Africa, the black-backed jackals would have gravitated towards the bigger open grasslands of the south and the west, and then the north east. So the Serengeti, the Masai Mara, moving north up into Somalia and to southern Ethiopia and southern Sudan. And so the side-striped jackal has managed to keep this niche in between. So very interesting, and they do very well in areas that black-backed jackals wouldn't. Hi, Det from Düsseldorf in Germany. Good morning and welcome on the Sunrise Safari. And he would like to know, do jackals always hunt alone? They do. They don't. They will quite often forage alone, but they will sometimes hunt in pairs, specifically when it comes down to taking slightly bigger prey. I mean, it is possible that they could catch something like a steenbok, but the side-striped jackal would generally try to find something a bit easier. I have seen them collaboratively hunt and harass lapwings to try to get their nests. So that they do hunt in pairs sometimes, but most of the time they do forage solitary. And Lisa would also like to know, do they have a set territory? Very definitely, and a pair will defend their territory from another pair of jackal. And once the pups are old enough, they will viciously attack and chase the pups out and send them off to try to find their own territories. So I think we're going to leave this little jagalas lying in the shade. So very attent, still listening, smelling, and like all predators, unbelievable opportunist, probably more so than other predators because of their varied diet. And if anything happened to come along that might provide a meal for this little side-striped jackal, I'm sure it would take full advantage. Okay, jackalas, time to be leaving. Well, we're going to actually have to go back to the book before we leave this jackal. Let's just finish the canids. The question was, how many canids or dog species do we get in South Africa? I'm just going to get a picture of some of them up now. And we'll have one last look at the jackal while I scramble through the book. Quite a nice spot here, nice open area, so it's also very difficult for a predator to sneak up like a lion or a leopard on the little jackal. Okay, let me just find the picture. Okay, so in South Africa we have 5 species of canids, or the dog family. John Boy was correct, but he missed one. He mentioned the golden jackal, which is actually further north in Africa. Off the jackal goes, but we'll have a look now. So we've got the black-backed jackal, the side-striped jackal, the bat-eared fox, the wild dog, and the Cape fox. Those are the 5 canid species we get in South Africa. Obviously in Africa there's quite a few more. And all the jackals decided to depart, so we shall do the same. And thank you for being such a kind jackal and not disappearing while we sat next to you, discussing your life history. So a lot of you guys got that right, so really well done. Quite nice to look at one of the smaller little carnivores and not always run around after the big ones. But it has seemed to be a very carnivore morning. Lions, brief leopard visual, nice jackal sighting. So all in all, a very successful sunrise safari so far, and it's not over yet. Well, Cecile made quite an interesting little comment as we drove up on that side-striped jackal. She said, oh, it's definitely a side-striped jackal because of the white tip to the tail. And that is very true. So it's one of the diagnostic features of a side-striped jackal. And for me, it's quite funny. If you've seen both species, the side stripe in a side-striped jackal is actually not that clear, but the white tip is very clear. But when you look at a black-backed jackal, obviously it has that very distinct black back, but it does have a very distinct stripe through the body. And almost sort of wonder if someone got confused a while ago, and a side-striped jackal should probably be called a white-tailed jackal or white-tipped tailed jackal, and a blackback could either be a blackback or a side-striped. But very, very interesting that. It is one of the diagnostic features when we are looking at a jackal species, especially if we have a very brief view as it disappears. As soon as we see that white tip to the tail, we know it's a side-striped. And as we were talking about a little bit earlier, the function of that white tip is for following. And the pups following the adults is probably more important with a side stripe than with a blackjack, because they have so much more varied a diet and they feed off lots of different fruits and things like that. So it is possibly more that the side striped pups have to learn a lot more from the adults than a blackback, which is feeds a lot of carrion. But again, that's just me speculating. I can't be 100% sure about that. So we did see some zebras a little earlier, and I'm hoping they've moved down onto this open patch in front of us. Oh, Remay, thanks again for another question. Remay would like to know the lifespan of a jackal, and if you give me a second, well, I guess it's probably around similar to of a dog, but I'm going to double check now. So probably around 9 or 10 years in the wild. There. Just quick have a look while we're driving. But I would guess it's very similar to a dog's lifespan. Obviously, dogs have it a little bit easier. They don't have to forage for their food so much, and they have people to feed them. Hi, Penny Pine. And Penny Pine would like to know, do you think our instincts are better in the bush than someone who lives in a big city? I would probably say yes, because we're more in tune to what's around us. And like your eyes and your ears, well, not so much your ears, but your eyes are definitely like any other muscle, and you can train them. And you'll notice if you've taken a lot of people on safari, the first day they arrive on safari and you say, oh, look at that there, and they'll be, oh, I can't see it, where, but after the second or third day their eyes start getting into tune with what's around them, and they do start being able to spot things much more easily. So I think the more you, like anything, the more you do it, the better you become at it. So I do think that the fact that we're out every day looking around for things enables us to spot things better, and our ears are more in tune to listening for little things. And on the subject of our ears, Anne from Durban says she's a Krugerholic, and due to my discussions about listening for alarm calls, she, on her last trip to Kruger, was able to find a leopard. So well done, Anne, and really great use of what we talk about here. And often we will find animals off the alarm calls of animals far more regularly than we will by just spotting them. So well done, Anne. So those zebras don't look like they've arrived out of this block that we saw them walking into a bit earlier. What you spotted? Oh, very nice, Andrew. Very nice. Oh, come back and land. Might land. Let me roll forward. So Andrew just spotted a little bird. We're going to try and get you a visual of it now. There. Let's just wait. Moved a little bit further away. Where is he? Still there?
The branch is in the way.
The branch is in the way. Okay, let me move forward or back. Oh, there he is. Where'd he go? Do you still see him?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's very sad. There was a very pretty little bird called a little bee eater. But it escaped. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to try keep a close lookout. Very, very beautiful little bird. Let me just see if I can get my bird book quickly and I'll show you what he looks like. Where is my bird book? Andrew, have you been playing with my bird book?
It's a negative.
Aha! It was under my morning blanket. Alright. Okay. So very beautiful birds, bee eaters. And that particular one is the most common one we get in this area. Very, very pretty. Very small as well, and very fast moving. Number 2. There we go, a little bee eater. And named so because they are very active hunters of bees, and when they catch them, they will beat the bee against the branch so it doesn't sting them while they eat it. So unfortunately it evaded us, but at least you got to see what it looks like. Try to rearrange everything. Hi Heidi from Zurich. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari, Heidi. Heidi would like to know, do all ruminants lie down when they ruminate? Most definitely not. Quite a lot of them will ruminate standing up as well. So it just depends on the animal and the individual. You'll notice buffalo will often ruminate both while standing and while lying down. So it depends completely on what that animal's up to at the moment, at that very moment. So the zebra haven't popped out here. I can't see any of their tracks. Maybe we'll loop around the other side. Hi, Ramona from Germany. Guten Tag. The birds are just not playing along with us today. And there's a little Cokie Franklin disappearing at high speed. Ramona's got quite an interesting question. She says, it seems to be common practices in the wildlife reserve and the national parks. Ramona, I'm going to get back to you in a second, but my friend, the jumping spider, is back. He has crawled out of my dashboard and hunting again. And he jumped up onto my book. And you see him there, Andrew?
Yeah.
So, for those of you who might not have been watching a while ago, a little jumping spider came out into the dashboard and nearly made a kill. Right in front of us, he nearly caught one of the pesky flies. So obviously we root for him, and every now and then he disappears into the dashboard of my vehicle and then pops out again when he's hungry. So he seems to be doing well, and there seems to be definitely enough chojos that come visit our vehicle for him to catch. So I'll put him back so he can go back into his little hidey hole. So Ramona would like to, is just saying that she's noticed that it's general practice in South Africa and the national reserves and private reserves that when an animal is injured by another animal or by a natural cause, we don't interfere. We don't call a vet or whatnot. But she would like to know if this is the case with endangered species, particularly like rhino and pangolin, and I suppose wild dog would also fall into that category. It is a very different situation with those animals, and then we will generally, sometimes, it completely depends. If there's a good chance of being able to save the animal, then we will try and interfere. With rhinos being a very difficult subject in South Africa at the moment because of the huge increase in poaching in the last few years, if a rhino is orphaned or injured and there is even the slightest possibility that we are able to save it, we will go to every length. And there are specialized rhino orphanages that are set up. There's actually one being set up on the reserve where my parents live at the moment. So to take and care and nurse for orphaned baby rhinos and try then release them back into the wild at a later stage. So there is things in place for the endangered species, and bringing that up is one of the main reasons why you will not see rhino on our live game drives. They are present in the area, but obviously because we're live, and I don't think our viewers are nefarious at all, but there is a possibility that someone who is nefarious might start watching the show and use the information that when we see a rhino or rhino tracks or rhino dung to work out that there are rhino in the area. So that is why we don't show rhino, and we don't show rhino tracks or sign or dung. So that is the main reason. So we're trying to do our part. Obviously, we don't think any of you guys, most of you out there, would ever use that information for ill, but just in case, because we are live and it is in real time, we try and make sure that we don't show any sign or tracks or the animal itself. Oh, look at that impala's back leg. He's escaped from someone with claws. You see that one, Andrew? There, one with its head down at the moment. There. You can see he's escaped. It looks like a claw mark, but it's healed, and a bite mark even. You can see he's got a bit of a limp there. Oh, got a fight. That doesn't look like it's very recent. Probably happened a week or so ago. But thanks very much for that question, Ramona. A very good one, and nice to be able to talk about sometimes the things that aren't as nice as the other stuff we see out here. So we have had an absolutely fantastic morning. You guys have had a great time with James and Nkuhuma's. We were lucky enough, even though it was a very brief visual, to see Shadow, and then we scoured that area constant for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, and she didn't seem to want to be found, and she was stalking, so eventually we made the decision to leave that area so not to disturb in case she was still in the process of hunting. And then we were lucky enough to come across a beautiful little side-striped jackals. We had a nice discussion, and nice to see him out in the open and very relaxed. And we also got to play Who Dung It. So a really successful morning. I hope you guys enjoyed being out with James and myself, and looking forward to the sunset safari. So a big thank you for all your questions. We really do appreciate them. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be able to take you guys out on safari twice a day, and we look forward to doing it again with the sunset safari. So from Andrew and myself on the Wendy, we'll see you a little bit later.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Djuma. I greet you with the news that I'm afraid those lions seem to have disappeared, which is very odd. And I can only think it has something to do with the sort of upheaval that's been going on. So we came around, we'd found one or two male tracks. We didn't see the males, obviously, otherwise you would have seen them too. And then we came back to exactly the same spot where the lions were, and they are not there anymore. So Viam's postulation is that they may have gone south, back to where we saw them cross originally. So we're going to sort of have a look that way just before we leave. But we're not going to have time to try and find them now. So we're going to stop here and have a look at this Nyala. I believe that it is World Giraffe Day, which is quite amusing to me. I shall tell all the giraffe that I see, if they are not already aware thereof. It is also Father's Day, so to those of you who are daddies, well done. And those of you who are children, which basically means everybody, remember your fathers today. Then I just wanted to make a quick point. Around here we've got some, there's a training school of those people we saw yesterday, you may or may not remember from during the sunset, students who are out here, and they are in and around this area trying to find the lions on foot. Now, viewing lions on foot is one of the most primal things you can do, because before you do it, it feels totally terrifying. You can't believe that you're going to go and look at the world's apex wildlife predator on foot. And yet it is the most fantastic experience, because what happens is that a lion sees us as prey, and so the first not as prey, as a predator. So the first time you see a lion on foot, it's kind of a gateway to understanding our role in the wilderness, because lions will normally get up and run away from us, which is the same reaction that most animals have to us out here. And when you see a lion do that, when you see the apex predator of Africa get up and run away, it touches something in you that makes you firstly realize that we are a predator, and if they do stand their ground and growl, well, it certainly gives you an enormous adrenaline rush. And it's quite an important experience for anybody who truly wants to understand our place in the wilderness, to view animals on foot, especially the big animals, which we tend to be terrified of, and with whom our relationship on foot has basically been based on hunting for so many years, and now isn't. And so it's important that we see how they do perceive us. It's been a just spectacularly wonderful drive, I feel. Wonderful lions calling this morning, wonderful sunrise, and then to find them in such a state of sort of high blood, if you like, their adrenaline up, their spirits up, they're knocking around the place, that female with the orange eyes staring into my eyes like this, and almost I felt at one stage like she may sort of take a swat at the vehicle. And it's so wonderful to see them in that state when they're in that rawness, and that they're showing their raw power like that, as opposed to lying down in the shade doing absolutely nothing. So that was a really special time for us. I'd like to thank you all, of course, for all of your comments and your questions, which have been fantastic as always. They've generated an enormous amount of discussion, especially those little bits about the black tails of the lions and the white tails of the leopards, and why the animals have those sorts of things. So thank you very much for them. If you're a new viewer, a special welcome and thank you for being here. Thanks to Brent and Andrew. They're good friends, and I hope they had a good time. They had the action yesterday, and I had it today, which was great. Thank you to Viam on camera, and thank you especially to Tara and the second director, whoever that is this morning. They really do a quite remarkable job. So we're going to hand you over to this Nyala to our left, and we'll see you this afternoon. Thanks very much, and have a great day, all you dads and all the giraffes out there that might be watching.